In this video, I'm going to walk you through how I build patches from scratch. So one of the most common questions that I've been asked since I started posting videos on YouTube is, do you just play around with the settings until you come up with something cool, or do you come in with something in mind and try and build that patch? The answer is really both. And sometimes I do one thing and sometimes I do another. I think it's probably a bit more challenging to come in with a set sound or purpose in mind. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to come up with something that we're going to try and go for, and I'm going to just show you how we build up that sound. So this right here is, in my mind, a nice place to start. And I do this a lot. I just set everything to 0. So as you can see, the velocity is all down. The pitch is all set to 12 o'clock. The decay is set to 12. The envelope of VCO 1 and 2 are off. They're at the 12 o'clock position. Frequency is at 12. The sequencer pitch is off. Hard sync off. Frequency modulation turned all the way down. Low pass filter, but it's opened all the way up. No resonance. I set that to a fast attack. 12 o'clock, off, 12 o'clock. So this is about as neutral as the DFAM can get. So the next step that I like to do is really just dial in the first step. So right here, we don't hear any sound because our velocity is down. So I'm going to turn that up first. We also have to turn up our level of VCO 1. And now we're getting sound. So what I'm going to try and go for here is a nice natural sounding percussive sound with a kick and some like wooden sounded top end, maybe hi-hats, something like that. But I don't want anything that's going to be kind of too crazy. I just want it to be a nice, smooth, percussive, natural sounding patch. Right here, we're going to start with our kick. All right, so that means we're going to have to go a little bit lower. And then add some envelope. Okay, we're going to bring down the decay. Getting closer. It's a really deep kick. I think that's a good starting point. Turn off the volume a little bit. Okay, so now that we've got that set up, let's add in VCO2. So it already has some crunch to it, and I don't... There's a little bit of tone to it. I'm going to make those harmonize for right now. Alright, and since I want it to be more natural sounding, I'm going to leave them on a triangle wave because I think that sounds more natural than the pulse wave. And I'm also going to turn VCO2 down a little bit in the mix. Okay, that's a good starting point. It's sounding out that the high part is just a little bit too much for me. I'm going to turn down the cutoff a bit. You don't even have to turn down a lot. Okay, that's a good starting point. And let's turn up the cutoff envelope and turn down the decay. Even make it faster. Then we can turn this down a little bit, because as we turn this up, it adds a little bit of that high frequency at the start, and then it gets down lower. So there, that's actually really nice. Has a little bit of that ringing out. Could even turn the decay down a little bit more. That's great. Turn this up. See what happens if we go all the way. Yeah. Set it right there. That is a great sounding kick. We could turn this down just to tighten it up a bit. It's barely a little bit too much. I like it. Now I'm going to add a little bit of noise. Just get a little bit of that rumble from the head of the drum. Maybe a little bit too much. Great. So now I'm going to set this forward to step 5. And as I've said before, I'm a big fan of the 1 and the 5, so it's on the downbeats. I think that's a great start. All right, let's use the patch bay a little bit. As I talked about in the patching tips, one classic pairing that I really like is pitch to noise. So that way we can control the noise level using the pitch and the sequencer. And this is great, especially because things like snares or hi-hats have really loud noise, and we can use the pitch to almost like program in a hi-hat sound. So I'm going to go pitch to noise level. All right. So now, the more we bring this up, that noise level goes up. So let's turn up level 3. Of course, then that means you also have to have your velocity up a little bit. So we're going to go turn up 3, and we'll turn this up like that, see what it sounds like, and 7. So those are the off beats. That's pretty cool. But it has that, you know, like I said at the beginning, it has that kind of wooden effect. Like, so, I mean, it is like a snare, bass snare kind of thing, but it has a wooden tonality to it. Especially on these 3rd and 7th steps. Then you can start adding in just a little bit of velocity to get that rolling drum sound. And so for this patch, I'm gonna leave the 1 and the 5 at the highest velocity, so that it really emphasizes those downbeats. And I'm gonna turn play around with the rest just to get those sort of rolling patches. I'm also going to turn down the pitch on the 1 and the 5, because that will lower the noise level. So let's hear what that sounds like. Maybe not all the way. But that's got a lot of movement right there. I mean, that already sounds cool. So at this point, I might just start playing around with some things. The other thing that I was going to try was coming out of velocity and into something so we can really emphasize these changes. We're not using the fuzzy mod because I wanted this to sound more natural, and when we turn this up, it becomes fuzzy and distorted. So that's something we could do to have this cutoff modulate a little bit. Because, as I explained in the patchbay section, when we plug into the VCF mod, it cancels out noise generation as its modulation source, and whatever you plug into it, it turns it into an attenuator for the cutoff. So the VCF mod is right below noise level, so we're going to plug it into that. Now we have an attenuator, so I'm going to slowly turn it up, and you should hear the cutoff open up a little bit more when the velocity is higher, which is going to be on the 1 and the 5. So here we go. And that sounds cool too, and it gives you some nice control to like do a build up or slow down. So I'm going to turn it all the way down. So if you wanted to build it up. And it's not the same thing as just opening up the cutoff, you know. Then when you do that, everything sort of bleeds in together a little bit, and you lose a little bit of that percussive sound, and it sounds more like shh. But if you just use this instead and turn this down, it only opens the cutoff for that brief moment that the envelope is going. So that's just a great way to get, again, more hard-hitting percussive sounds. Yeah, when it's turned all the way up, you can really hear how short those moments when it's all the way up are. As opposed to, you know, just turning up the cutoff. There's a little bit more. Oh, this is all the way up. So it's just a different way to approach it, and you have a little bit more control over it. So that's a great sounding patch. So let's hear what it sounds like with a little bit of a bass line from the Mother 32. So I'm going to take the sign out from the Mother 32 and plug it into the advanced clock. And that's generally how I approach building a patch from scratch.